Room at the table. I am your host, Jonathan Harmon of the J Harmon Home Team, and we can't wait to talk to these fine guests. Enjoy the show. And we're live. Good afternoon, friends. It's Jonathan Harmon with the J Harmon Home Team, powered by Keller Williams. And I am sitting in the studio. It's been dreary the last few days. What do you think, Trent?
Very dreary.
Very dreary. The sun did come out a little bit earlier today. And for about a split second, I almost took my jacket off, and then I decided not to. And it was a good decision because it went promptly away. Yeah, promptly away. So we're gonna jump right in. Today is a crazy day. Holidays. You know, I asked somebody yesterday. We were talking about all the stuff that had to get done and all of that. And my question, maybe this is going to be our controversial question of the day. Why do we do this to ourselves?
That's a great question.
mean, holidays, honestly, sometimes they're just miserable.
Hey.
And it's not because the holiday is miserable. It's because we pile so much crap on ourselves to do. And you don't have an opportunity to really enjoy it. So anyway, my challenge to you is pile less crap on yourself. Okay. Your body will thank you for it when you get done stretching. So we got a cool show today. Before we get started with Sean K, not Sean R. Sean R sat this one out, so we'll get him next time. But before we get started with Sean Kaminsky, we are going to hear from our friend Bryan Nale at Primis Mortgage. I actually attended an event earlier today where he had kind of a panel on the state of the market, and it was very informative. So
where was that?
It was over at the Parthenon.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yep.
Oh, I saw that. Brian was posting about that.
Yep. It was good. A lot of good information. But if you missed that, because probably you did, January 9th, we've got a panel coming up at Cedar Glade, and Brian's going to be a panelist. And then Grant Hammond with Metropolitan Brokers. I like to think of him as the wisest realtor on Facebook in Nashville, will be one of our panelists. And I think I'm fairly wise. So that's saying something that he's wiser than me. And then we'll also have Mr. Ronnie Martin from Pinnacle Financial.
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet.
It's gonna be a lot of good information. So if you have questions about the market, bring them that night. I've got about 7 or 8 that I'm going to ask and let them pontificate on.
Wow. And
that was a good word, right?
Yeah, that was well executed.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm proud of that. See, I'm wise. See?
Yeah, you got to be wise to know.
Yeah. Pontificate.
Is that 5 syllables?
I don't know. You should look it up. It has something to do with the Pope.
Just for hands. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But
thank you, Sean. You have your clap.
So anyway, let's roll. Before we get any deeper in here, I only have hey dudes on. We don't need to get too deep.
That's funny.
Let's roll Brian's information.
Hey, my name is Bryan Nale. I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Bank Mortgage, and I want to tell you that I absolutely love being a member of the Spread the Positive Network. It's such a great mission, and it helps bring so much positivity to our community. It's a true pleasure to be part of. There are a lot of ways to navigate financing a home, and in markets like this, having the advice of a trusted local professional is key to making sure you get the right advice for your specific circumstances. Whether you're interested in the purchase of a new home, a second home, or have a need for a refinance, I'd love to earn your trust. If I can help you nail your mortgage, call me at 615-243-3976 or visit nailyourmortgage.com, and I'll be happy to talk with you.
Primis Mortgage is a subsidiary of Primis Bank, a member FDIC, equal housing opportunity. As always, all loans are subject to approval. Primis Mortgage, NMLS number 1894879.
Alrighty.
And the best tagline in the mortgage industry goes to Bryan Nale with "Nail Your Mortgage." It's my favorite.
That's work.
Yeah. Hey, all right. So let's dive in. We've got Sean Kaminsky, aka Sean K, over here. There is a dramatic lack of head hair in the studio today between Trent and Sean and myself. And it's kind of wonderful. It's nice to not be burdened by that extra weight. You know?
Yeah. Drying off after a shower is pretty easy.
Easy peasy. That's it. All the shampoo's expensive. Somebody said that to me the other day. I was like, I wouldn't know.
It's overrated.
I have no idea. So Sean is the GM over at StretchLab. And you guys are located, you were just telling me, on Thompson Lane, next to Rooster's Barbershop, which is not Slim Chickens, which is what I'm kind of hungry, I guess. And just right over there by Samurai's, across from Jim and Nick's. And tell me what StretchLab is.
So I asked the same question when I first moved here, and I was looking at jobs. I saw StretchLab, and I was a personal trainer for 8 years, and even as a trainer, I hardly ever stretched. I'd spend like 5 minutes at the end of my workout on a foam roller. And so when I heard StretchLab, I was like, how are these guys going to make money? Because do people just go there and stretch themselves, because I hardly even did that. And then I found out it was one-on-one assisted stretching. We do that for either 25 or 50 minutes. I sat there for a minute and I was like, why didn't I think of that? Because it's such a good idea, because most people need it, and so
even non-athletes. I mean, it's something that we just, especially in a sedentary world, we need that.
Absolutely. And so, just before the show, we were talking about the posterior chain on most people tends to break down first. And so we become more rounded like this. Yeah, I even do it myself. You'll probably catch me a couple of times today doing it. And so being able to not only does it feel good and it's pretty relaxing, but you get some muscle and joint pain relief. You get increased sports performance, whether that is just quality of life or if you're a golfer or a student athlete. And then it also does help with posture, which is most people need,
Sure.
So we do customize a stretching routine based off of the individual's needs and their goals. And we move them through phases. So we start off with a foundation phase, move them into an active phase, and then into performance. And performance, like I said, you could just think of as quality of life. And then from there, they either maintain it or they have some new goals. And we also want to educate through the process too. Naturally, this is somebody else stretching you, but there are stretches that we can teach people to do on their own, because nobody's going to stay forever, right? And so we want to make sure that whatever results that they get with us, that they're able to maintain that into the future.
Now, what kind of certifications or qualifications, I guess, do your employees and yourself, if I went and applied at StretchLab, I am not qualified for that. Right. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm trainable, but the people that work there, the people that I'm paying to help me stretch myself out, how do you decide they're a good employee?
Yes, that's a great question. When you're putting hands on somebody else and you're manipulating muscle, you, as a personal trainer, it was out of our scope of practice. It doesn't matter how much education you had, because there's a liability with that. And so anyone we do hire has some sort of exercise science degree or background in that, or was a personal trainer, worked at a chiropractor's office, even physical therapists or physical therapist assistants. And then we actually take them through our own certifications, the only nationally accredited certification that allows you to actually stretch people. And that is the StretchLab certification on their own. So they developed that. I believe that they have two. I don't want to give a straight answer because I'm not exactly sure, but I believe there's 2 personal training certifications that actually back that, which is where they get the national accredited. And so they have to have some sort of exercise science background. And then we take them through about 60 to 70 hours to get their own certification, and then they can stretch people.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay. So highly qualified. To help you with that. It's not just the dude leading the pre-game stretch at a football game.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
There's no clapping or anything involved. Is that right? Okay. Just curious. It'd be cool if there was. So I guess, so I'm kind of, there's a little part of me that's a little skeptical, you told me some of the rates, and I mean, it's not like it's a cheap thing. I'm not going to pay $10 and go in there and stretch myself out. It's not like that. There's a therapeutic component to this. Is that accurate?
Yeah. So we don't treat or diagnose. So we're not like any sort of medical clinic or anything like that. And it's not quite fitness. Like, I thought it was originally a place where people just come there and stretch, or they're directed to stretch. Like, we're actually putting hands on people. So it's in the middle ground there. And that's why it's so unique and so new. And a lot of people are interested in it simply because it's such a new idea. But it's meant to kind of bridge the gap there, and so it is somewhat therapeutic, but disclaimer, it's where, there are no doctors in there and stuff. So if you actually we have to actually make sure that, if you have some serious injuries or you need to see your doctor first, or if you're actively in physical therapy, like you have to, we have to get,
you don't want to mess it up.
Right. Yeah. And so we want to make sure that we're helping people, but also making sure that they understand that it's not, if you're dealing with an injury, it's after you've already done the work on that side of it. But, the muscle and joint pain relief, I personally do it for my shoulder. I've been to physical therapy 9 times for the same shoulder. I had surgery about 3 years ago now. And if I sleep wrong, I'm a side sleeper. And so my neck, I can't turn my head for the rest of the day. So I actually personally use it for my own shoulder.
Who is your ideal target demographic? Like who do you want to watch this?
Yeah,
because they're going to come and see you.
Yep. So there's a few different people, and so we've actually been getting a lot of golfers coming in. We get
because golf is really not, like, as far as the technique goes, it's not good for your body, is it?
No. And so a lot of hips, a lot of lower lumbar. And so people are coming in for that. A lot of people naturally who are sedentary, who have never really stretched or even worked out, or if they have worked out a little bit, it doesn't matter. Anyone who's naturally sedentary should at least try this, because the lower back, a lot of people just have pain and they accept it as normal, and they've maybe,
I'm just getting old or whatever.
Yeah,
sure.
Or they've, gotten an injury. This is another thing in injury prevention as well. I personally believe that if I would have, because I've torn my hamstring, messed up my shoulder, I've had a bunch of other issues over the years. And so I personally believe that even if I was just stretching myself, not necessarily having a professional do it for me, I probably would have reduced the risk of some of those injuries. Yeah.
And one of the things we were talking about off camera was that it's not a bad thing to use this in conjunction to some of the other things, whether it's massage or chiropractic or even PT, as long as it's at the right stage, right. That kind of thing. So, I have gotten massages before and come out of there and actually been tighter than when I went in. So maybe this would have been something as they've worked those muscles over to open them back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we go back, you get a massage, even if you do it, once a week, but like I usually do it once a month. Once you go right back into your normal daily routine and your posture, you haven't done anything to change your posture. So your muscles go right back to the way they were. Your joints do as well. And so doing this in conjunction will actually allow your muscles to be more elastic, but come back to the same place rather than getting, massage once a month or every so often, then going right back to being really tight without that elasticity.
It makes sense. So you don't have to reveal pricing. I know that's weird to do that, but what kind of packages do you guys offer as far as how do you try it? There's a membership that's available, but then there's also some other kind of a la carte stuff if people are skeptical and they just want to give it a shot.
So I should say first, we do, for those who are skeptical, for me, I like to try things, especially a new idea. I want to know that, especially before I sign up for a membership, I want to know that it's going to be for me. So we do.
Well, some of that is, am I even going to show up?
Right.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, accountability is one thing that we want to help people get into the routine of too, to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So, you can come in as a non-member and stretch, but if you're going to do that more than once a month, you're better off getting a membership. It significantly knocks the price down. For your first stretch, we offer half off of a single stretch. So it's called an intro stretch, and you can do that for either 25 or 50 minutes. Afterwards, if you feel like it's a good fit for you, if it's something that's going to be beneficial, we offer memberships. So you can come in once or twice a week for either 25 or 50 minutes. We also have family plans. So instead of having, your spouse get a separate membership, or getting a membership maybe for your student athlete, or even for, your parents, we offer family packages where you can do it up to 4 people. If you're not quite sure you want to do that, we do offer starter packs. So you can purchase either 3 or 5 sessions. And at the end of that, if you feel like it's a good fit, then you can become a member. The membership, the incentive, it knocks the price down quite a bit on that. So,
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Well, what else do people need to know? So a couple things that are pretty interesting business-wise. I'm an entrepreneur. I love business structure. You guys are a franchise.
Yep.
Y'all were the second franchisees in state of Tennessee. Is that right?
I believe we were the third.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe so.
And it's just kind of blowing up all over the state at this point.
So I got hired in May. We were in pre-sale. We did our soft opening in September, and then our grand opening November 9th. So we're super new. when I got hired, I believe that we were going to be the third one. When I looked a few weeks ago, I think there are 7 now in Tennessee. When I got hired, over the country, there were a little over 200 studios. There's like almost 350 now. That was just 6 months ago.
So there really is a need for this. Why do you think that is? I mean, so now we get into the controversial stuff. So I'm going to lean forward. Here we go. So as a nation, you know, there's not really a question as far as our job goes and those kinds of things. There's definitely a decline in physical labor type activities. You know, people are doing less of it. Fewer people are doing more of the physical labor, if that makes I guess what I'm trying to say. So a whole lot more of us are doing a lot of what we're doing right now, sitting. And so is there a push for more studios and gyms and health things? I don't know what I'm trying to say. Is that a booming industry right now?
I believe so, especially something like this. You know, gyms have been around. They'll always be around. Fitness and health is one of those things that we inherently know that we need to do, but it's one of those things that we just don't do. You know what I mean?
Why is that, you think?
Because it's hard.
Yeah.
You know, and we're tired all the time.
Yeah.
Know? Even I played sports all my life growing up. I was a personal trainer. I still go through seasons with that, especially if I dealt with an injury. It's a habitual thing too. So we're creatures of habit, and we just have neglected those healthy.
But I always feel better, right?
Yep.
If I'm in that season of in the gym and eating clean and, you know, doing all the things that I'm supposed to do to take care of my body, I always feel better.
Yep.
So how do I slip out of it?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's frustrating.
Yep. Yeah. It's you know, it's one of those things that we don't get instant gratification from. As far as fitness goes, stretching, you are going to feel some things immediately after. You're going to feel better, just kind of like getting a massage, and I feel great afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, when I have to do things that are a little bit harder, and I have to also look at myself and be honest with myself about things, it's one of the hardest things that people have to do. We typically don't like to face that within us. You know, like, I know that I need to, even when I was in the best shape of my life, I still needed to do cardio. Like, I could not run up the stairs and not, you know, breathe a little bit heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I know I needed to do it. I would always feel better.
And you probably still ate junk food.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, I love baked goods. And so, you know, I
love Doritos.
I have to compensate and make sure that I'm balancing, because habits are easier to make than they are to break. And so, you know, I can find within myself that I have sometimes more bad habits than I do have good ones. And so it's hard to break yourself out of that routine. And, you know, when you're not doing those things, you don't feel as good. And so we either get more tired, we have less energy, you know, we have all these other things going on in our life. But what I get from most people is I don't have the time. And I would say the same thing, you know. And so if you don't have at least 60 minutes a week out of however many hours there are in a week to do that, it's not about not having time. It's just us not wanting to make that effort. Yeah.
So having been a personal trainer and doing what you do now, what are some of the more dangerous things that are out there? And we're getting close to the end of the year, so I assume that you guys are probably expecting a little bit of a boom in January, right? All the gyms do, whatever it is, right? Whatever kind of studio or gym it is. How do people really, like, truly, how do people make the change?
Yep. So with StretchLab, it's a little bit easier, because you just have to show up and we're stretching you. It's not quite like the gym. Now, you should do other things for your health in conjunction with stretching. And
StretchLab theoretically makes that easier, right?
Yep. Yeah. So you show up and we stretch you. It's, like I said, you're not only going to get good benefits from it, but it is very relaxing. It's going to feel good, and it's easy. You know, even if you're just coming in once or twice a week, it's also going to help you develop better habits to do those other things. It's also going to make you feel better when you're doing those other things, fitness related. It's going to give you a solid foundation when you do this. So some of the things that I personally do is that I try to actually map out my schedule of when I'm trying to make a change, and see where I can fit that in or replace it, or just make a commitment to myself that I'm just going to at least do one thing and not look at the big picture. Because if I look at the end result, I'm like, man, this is going to take forever. You know, am I even going to get there? I just focus on like what's right in front of me and what I can do that day.
Because you make a habit one action at a time.
Exactly. Yep. And it can be kind of daunting if you look at it all together. Even when it comes to stretching, even when you don't have to do anything, it's you feel, if I have a lot of injuries or I'm in pain a lot, it's hard to make those initial steps. And actually, sometimes you still have to go through that. You're not going to get those immediate actions.
Yeah. How much time do you guys spend? Let's say I do a 25-minute session or whatever, right? You guys start stretching me. I feel great. How much time do you devote to showing me techniques that I can use outside of your studio?
So it's a good question. It really depends on the person and their interest in it. If they're more interested in just getting stretched, then we spend most of that time on there. We also do an assessment every 30 days. You'll get the results of that, and we try to explain that to you. Now,
what are you assessing?
Mobility, activation, posture, and symmetry. It's called MAPS. And essentially, and I actually used to do this assessment by eye. This is the overhead squat assessment. But we have an iPad on the wall, and it actually analyzes your movement patterns through 3 overhead squats. And it's actually, I nerd out on this stuff. Yeah. And so I thought it was really cool.
So you put me on that thing and be like, oh dear Lord, you are all over the place, man.
And that's, that's usually the case. And it's not always a bad thing. One, it allows you to see where you're at. It allows our flexologists to see where you're at to better customize your program to you. And then also it allows you to track your progress. And sometimes with people, if they're in really, really tight, we'll do that scan for them before and then immediately after their stretch. And sometimes you can actually see the difference because it does give you a picture of, some of the spots that are worse than others.
What's the worst muscle group?
It's usually the lower back or the hamstrings,
yeah.
Or for some people, the shoulders. We get rounded and we hike our shoulders up like this, but the core is usually the weakest spot in most people. So
and we make up for it with our back.
Yeah. And so the lower back tends to suffer, and that will affect the glutes and the hamstrings. Yeah. So most people will come in with that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, what are some things that people, I guess, leave me with some things that people should know, some things that, as we're setting, our what are they called? Resolutions, right. How does StretchLab fit into that? If my goal is to become healthier, what does an ideal situation look like?
Yeah. So one thing I would think of when you're setting those goals is think about building whatever your goals are on a solid foundation. And so in particular with StretchLab, if your goals are fitness related, or if they're performance related, or if it's just quality of life, you got to have a solid foundation. One, you want to reduce the risk of injury. And then you also want to make sure too that you're going to build out your goals with essentially a basic foundation, so that you don't run into any other issues down the road. It'll help you develop better habits, because one, you have to show up. And this, for me personally, I can relate this to other areas of my life. When I'm doing something like stretching or, working out for myself, I will notice that I'm actually more accountable in other areas of my life too. I'm not sure if that answered your question.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense. I've noticed the same when you exercise a little discipline in this area. And honestly, especially if you're the I don't have time person, yep. You almost have to exercise discipline in other areas.
For sure.
So that's good stuff. All right. Will StretchLab make you not fat?
No.
Okay.
So, yeah, like I was saying earlier, most people or all of our employees, they have some sort of exercise science background. We do strictly, when we're stretching, follow the, what StretchLab has made itself out to be. And so you're not going to get a different style from each person. But we will try to educate you on some stretches that'll help in other areas of your life. If you have questions about anything fitness related, if somebody has a specific background like me, I'll talk to you about it. It's not necessarily what StretchLab does, but yeah, most people will have questions about something that relates outside of stretching. If we can answer that for you, if we have personal experience with that, then we will. But if you're trying to lose weight, obviously, one, you need to have nutrition on par. And
honestly, that's probably number one, like most important, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You can't outwork a bad diet.
No. And most people, they try to change everything all at once, and it's not sustainable. They try to flip their whole life upside down when it comes to food. So like my suggestion, what I've done in the past is I would change one thing at a time. even if it was just a small change, I wouldn't beat myself up over it.
No sodas.
Even something as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
I would just do that one thing. And then when I felt like I was ready to add another, I would just do that. Cause I've done it myself where, I was going to do whatever my goal was. And I would just flip my whole life upside down and throw everything out in my kitchen. And then like after 2 weeks, I was miserable, and then I would be even worse when I came back, because I lost just
over 20 pounds in the month of September.
Yeah.
In preparation for my wedding in October. I've gained about 10 of those back, but it was miserable.
Yeah.
The month of September sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's not sustainable,
at all.
If you change those things in small measures, over time it'll just be normal, and you can find the things that work for you, because what works for you may not work for me. So it's got to be individualized. It's got to fit into your life, and maybe you don't want to give up sodas right now, but you can drink more water. You start there with that.
And that's the one thing that I know in my head, that if I did that better, I would be healthier.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, part of it is a practical excuse. It's still an excuse. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's a practical excuse. I'm on the go all the time. And I'm like, man, when I was really doing the water thing the right way, I got familiar with every gas station in Murfreesboro, because I was stopping all the time taking a leak, and it was hard, it was hard to do that. So anyway, but that's an excuse. It's not a good excuse.
I had the same problem. So I would have a water bottle with me, right? Because if I didn't even if I was sitting down, if I didn't have it right in front of me, it'd be like, I would have like 3 coffees in the meantime, but I'd be at 6 o'clock. I haven't drank like 1 glass of water today.
Yeah.
So I have to bring like a bottle around with me.
Yeah. I do the same thing, but then it just becomes a fashion accessory, because I really just carry it around with me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Trent's got a gallon over there. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that gallon's been there for like 2 weeks, buddy. Maybe 3.
Does water go bad?
I keep the Sonic Coke.
Okay. Awesome. Last question, on site, do you guys do anything like that? Are you guys mobile, or is it everybody comes to the studio?
So for the most part, people come to the studio. We do what are called pop-ups, where we'll go set up a tent, and we have 2 tables that we'll bring with 2 flexologists, and we'll do demo stretches for free. But we're actually working out right now with a sports team of actually going and doing just that, where they buy a certain amount of sessions, and once a week or twice a week, we'll go there for a few hours and stretch our team out. And so we do that. We just have to make sure that because we have insurance for the studio, we just have to make sure that all of that is, is taken care of. But yeah, we do that. And so right now we have 2 mobile tables. If it's something where, it becomes a lot of popular, then I'll add more tables to that, bring more flexes to that. Yeah. But, I was thinking the same thing when I first heard of StretchLab. I was like, this would be really good to bring to, I lived in Washington State. So there was Microsoft, Amazon, a lot of people in the tech industry, and they would come to, I worked at a gym at the time. They'd come there to train, and they'd say, well, I wish we could just bring you guys there stretching. I mean, we just have to bring a table, you don't need weights, equipment, or anything like that. And so, yep.
Right. Very good. All right. StretchLab. What's the address?
451 North Thompson Lane. We're Suite C. You'll see the StretchLab sign right next to Roosters.
Does it look like that?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Perfect. And what are y'all's hours?
Monday through Friday, we're open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're a member, you can schedule through the StretchLab app. Even if you're not a member, download the app, check it out. You can always book an intro stretch through there as well. Very cool. And you guys offer gift cards? Yes. Okay. Anything else? No. Yeah, if you're interested, if you aren't quite sure if this would benefit you, but you're intrigued, do an intro stretch. They're half off of a single session. If you feel like you love it afterwards, we'll set you up. Sounds good. All right. Sean Kaminsky, thank you so much. Tell Sean R. we missed him. Yeah, I will. Yeah. And maybe we'll catch him next time. If you have any questions about StretchLab, Trent's going to put the website in the comments, and he looks surprised by that. So he's going to do it because Trent's the man. If you're interested in helping spread the positive, I'll give you the same pitch I give every single week. Check it out. And we would love to have you help shed light on what's going right, or bring light to what's going right. I always mess that up because we shed light. It's not bring anyway, but whatever. Semantics. I didn't write it. Trent did. But just like Bryan does and helps us with all these things.
that we've got going on over here at Spread the Positive. If you are interested in that, hit Trent up, and we can definitely take your money and make Murfreesboro a better place.
Make it impactful.
Impactful.
Yeah.
That sounds like it would hurt. Can you help with impactful things?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, if I have something impactful on my body, you can
we can
stretch that out. That's perfect.
That's it.
And if you have any real estate questions, give me a shout. If you have any mortgage needs, give Bryan a shout. And if you want to help spread the positive, give Trent a shout.
That's right.
And then finally, if you're feeling a little tight and you do this a lot, don't just blame it on old age. Go see my friends, the Seans over at StretchLab.
That's right.
And Brandy. Shouts to Brandy too.
And Brandy. Yeah, we like Brandy.
Yeah, we love Brandy.
Yeah,
she's a beast.
she is. So
All right. Appreciate
that's it.
y'all.
Thanks, buddy. Y'all have a good rest of the week. We'll talk to you.